Okay. Oh, who's ready to be offended? Yeah, that's why you're here, right? Okay. I've got a few things to talk about today. We're going to take a quick look at, what is offensive? I mean, how many people, you're almost afraid to say anything today that somebody's going to be offended? Actually, let me rephrase that. Can you say anything today without somebody being offended? Probably not. No. And the thing to think about is, well, what's offensive? What's offensive? I mean, how many folks, you got people back at the ranch that they're going to be offended by something, and everybody else is going, get off it. Just leave me alone. They're hypersensitive. Yeah, okay, so we're going to take a look at that today. We're going to look at a few things. One is I'm going to email to everybody a policy for bullying and for, what's offensive in the workplace. And that ties right into your harassment. And I'm not sure if you've been to any legal updates in the last year, but did everybody see the new regulations that we have for your policy for harassment? Okay, so I'm going to have those in the policy and send those to you. And I've gotten a lot of pushback. It's like, well, President Trump is probably going to waive all those. And I'm like, well, if he does, that's fine. If not, they took what is already in the law. So, no, the president can't go wipe out case law. All right, so this is everybody's going, all these regulations are new. No, that just tells me you have not been staying up because you've been living under this for 10 or 15 years, and that's a really scary proposition, okay? The number one charge filed with the EEOC is retaliation. How dare you pick on one of my people? Yeah, I know he's a pervert, but he's my friend, okay? Kind of like Jerry Sandusky, right? Happens all the time. We want to protect our own, not correct our own. And I'll tell you, employers falling like flies. What's number two? Harassment. Harassment. So part of harassment is you absolutely have to know how the law, how has the United States Supreme Court defined bullying? How have they defined what really is offensive and what is hypersensitive? And they defined that for us in 1993, and I'll tell you right now, I think it's more applicable today than it was back then. Do we have more hypersensitive people today? Okay, and I just love this. If you happen to use the wrong pronoun with somebody, are you in trouble? That's ridiculous, absolutely. According to the EEOC, that is absolutely ridiculous. According to the United States Supreme Court, that's ridiculous. And I had a state conference for public sector employers, and this is the session they wanted, and we spent a couple hours because one of their people just got fired because they accidentally used the wrong pronoun. And I'm like, who is running your agency? Who is running this place? Okay, so I'll tell you, how many people would like to have some common sense in the world today? Okay, well, I can't do that. Okay, yeah, just no. But you know what's cool when you go to work? There are rules. Really. Okay, there are rules that you have to follow. And I'm going to tell you right now, you do not want to do what everybody else is doing. Somebody got upset. Let me ask you, if you gave a $1,000 bonus to everybody who works for you, everybody, would 5% complain they had to drive all the way in to get it? Do we care what they think? Say, no, we don't care what you think. Don't tell them that, okay? They're also hypersensitive. Never tell a hypersensitive person they're hypersensitive. It won't go well, all right? These are pet peeves, okay? And the other thing I'm working on is the BWC has come up with this great program in which they will pay up to $2,000. They will reimburse you up to $2,000 to draft your substance abuse policy. How many people for Christmas you got some recreational marijuana? Anybody? Christmas gift? Go down to Kroger, pick up some pot, bring it home, wrap it up, give it to grandma. Anybody? No? Okay. How many people in here you think you might have people at work who are using recreational pot? Oh, yeah. Before you could buy it in the dispensaries, this was hilarious. I had clients, they had employees that would drive to Michigan, fill their trunk and back seat with legal pot. Because understand, it was legal, recreational use was legal in Ohio before we had any dispensaries that would pay the fee to be able to sell it. So guess what? Come back, they made a fortune. Okay, it's a lot like prohibition. Okay, so guess what? I'm working on that. The problem is you got 3 government agencies that are all working together. The BWC has their part in mind, and then when you link over to the Office of Management and Budget, it all falls apart. It doesn't work. And that's been going on for 2 years. So honestly, what I'm doing is I'm talking to the BWC, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together instructions, and when you get to the step that goes to the Office of Budget and Management, there are people at the BWC you call, and they will get you set up. Okay, so the cooperation level with the BWC is excellent. The other agencies, probably not. They were probably a friend of the governor, and that's how they got their job. We're recording this, right? Okay, so yeah, let's make sure that gets to DeWine and get somebody new over there. So we're going to have a lot of fun today. We're going to look at hypersensitive people, and we've got some pretty offensive people too. Okay, so as Alan here is showing you, there's some offensive things out there, aren't there? Okay, first and foremost, that's me. Okay, I got a few books out there, but I already got some questions on this. I do podcasts every month. They are free. I'm at the stage of my life where I would like to see things get better. How many people would like to see things get better? What do I mean by better? Do we attack people today because they disagree with us? Okay. Who would want to go into politics? Anybody? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh my gosh. Okay. Again, if you say anything, you're going to get attacked. Whether it's your race, your religion, your skin color. Okay. Just absolutely tired of that. So every month we do a podcast, and I do it with FAIR. FAIR is the Foundation Against Intolerance and Racism for everybody. Everybody. White people, black people, Asians, Jews, atheists. You have a right to be who you are. Okay, now freeze right there. If I had 100 people in here, would 5% be upset that I included the atheists? The Satanists? Do you have a right to be? Yeah, you do. Okay? So that gets into our offensive world. So every month I'll do that. You just go to my website, hit the free resources, and you can sign up. They're free. If you speak up today, you win a pin. Every time I get mad about something, I make a pin. Okay, and I got lots of pins, okay? Some of you I presented for, yes, we've got different pins pretty much every single time. So you speak up, you get a pin. All right, let me show you what the state of America has been in for about the last 20 years. And why is that? Well, ever since we became so woke. You say anything, I don't ask you I don't ask you why you said that. I don't come and explain what do? Attack. Attack. How many people you feel your gut tightening up right now? Right? Is that kind of what the world is like? All right. Going all the way back to 2007, Gallup poll, earth-shattering poll. Oh my gosh. 77% of all Americans said they hate their job. They hate it. What's that mean? It means that they get a sick feeling in their gut just over the thought of going into that hellhole. Okay, freeze right there. Who has ever had a job where Sunday night your gut tightens up over the thought of going into that pit? Oh, okay. Let me tell you right now, and we're going to talk about this. Do you know that you are smoking 2 cigarettes? Smoking has a mortality factor of 0.6. What's that mean? It means if you smoke, you have increased your chance of premature death by 60%. Okay, is that bad? Okay, how many people are thinking, you know, I'm getting my career going and everything. What can I do today to cut my life short by 60%? What could I do? Okay. Now, anybody here smoke? Yeah, you really want to raise your hand now, don't you? Okay, yeah. Okay. No, I love the smokers. I love the smokers. Anybody here used to smoke? My God, half the room. Okay, why'd you quit? You quitter? Wait, what is it? You couldn't keep it up or what?
Just sounded like a good idea.
It was. Why'd you quit?
Health reasons.
Health. You all win pins. Again and again and again. I value that, okay? But if you work with a bully, okay, now, first of all, nobody wants sued, right? Nobody wants, and we're not here, I'll tell you, I'm not here to win lawsuits. I'm here to prevent them. And I'll tell you right now, my clients who for 29 years, almost 30 years, who have followed my advice, I've never had a client sued. Never. Why? Because I'm an HR guy. Lawyers pull you out of a hole when you're in trouble. HR can prevent it. All right? If you work with a bully, you have doubled your chance of premature death. Doubled it. You will die younger than what you should. It's 40% worse than smoking. And it is, today, it is the #1 cause of post-traumatic stress disorder, and 30% of everybody you meet at Kroger has active PTSD. This is, by the way, why you don't flip people off on the expressway, okay? Because what are the chances someone will shoot at you? Oh, yeah, they shoot pretty good. Actually, yeah, that's not bad, okay? They probably will. Is that scary? You want to hear what the latest figures are from 2024? 75 to 80% of all employees in this country are miserable when they go to work. That means they sit in your parking lot and their gut churns. How many people think that's bad? That's the worst thing that can happen to you, okay? 75% of all employees have been bullied or witnessed bullying at work. That is still true today. Workplace bullying remains a wildly out of control epidemic in the United States. Now, think about it. Do you think people are responding to this poll because they just hate the work? They hate the work. Or is it the people? What do you think? How many people think it's the people? Oh, yeah, you all win pins. You win 2 pins because that was like serious. Yeah. I got my little devil attackers. Fight, right? That's Simon Cowell, right? Okay, I tell it like it is. Who's got people back at the ranch? I tell it like it is. You just can't take honesty. Okay, well, guess what? You're killing yourself and everybody around you. See, a polite smoker goes outside and smokes and blows the smoke away. What's a bully do? Right in your face, okay? And you got your, most people would prefer to run away from a conflict. Flight, right? So guess what? Most people you know will smile to your face and lie through their teeth and stab you in the back as soon as you walk away. Okay. Anybody here ever work with gossipers? People who breathe? Yeah, okay. I'll tell you. And then, of course, we've got the little barbarian bully. Why does he pick on people? He picks on people because I don't feel good about myself, so I'm taller when I stand on top of more bodies. Okay, that means it's not safe to go to work. That is what that means. Okay, so where are we going? Well, we're going to follow this road, and it's going to be safe. There's your first pin, by the way. Going to be safe. And I mean safe for your fingers and toes, all right? Safe for your hearing. I think that's a really big one, okay? And safe for your body, safe for your brain, okay? And we'll look at this exactly what happens when you are bullied. And I can tell you right now, I want you to get religion. I don't want you to go back and say, you know, we heard a speaker, he's going to send us a policy. I think we should put this in place. Yeah, that's great. That's great. I want you to go back and you say, we got to do this because I'm going to die. Oh my God. Oh. Now, has the world lost its mind? Yeah, and I'm not saying, oh, no, because in my day we didn't do. No. Let me tell you how bad this is. 80% of everybody who you know who has prescription drug coverage is on psychiatric medications. And only 20% of them are on the right ones. Now, let me tell you right now, I am not bashing medication at all. Do not misquote me. Scott said not to take medications. No, I'm saying, yes, that's great. But why would you take medication and keep beating your brain to death like a soccer ball? Why would you do that? That is like going to the doctor and they give you pills for your broken leg and say, well, we got to get you scheduled from surgery. No, I'm good. I'm good. I got the pills. Feels great. High as a kite. I'll be better at my job than I ever was before. All right. I work in an office, but I'll just put on a hard hat. It's great. I love the Vicodin. I actually got a marathon next week. Okay, what's going to happen to your leg? Ooh, we call that a compound displaced fracture where the bone sticks out. Okay? That is how we handle prescription drugs in this country. Again, I'm a big fan. I want to calm that brain down, but I want you to take care of your brain. Now, let's get down to brass tacks. What is offensive? And of course, the opposite of that is what is hypersensitivity? Well, come way back with me. 32 years ago. Freeze right there. Who wasn't born yet? Yeah, there you go. I love this. That's just great. Okay. How many people, you weren't working yet? There you go. Okay, so we got this case. This is the second case heard by the United States Supreme Court on harassment. I think this is the most important one they've ever had. Because you got this guy named Charles Hardy. Now I want you to tell me if you think this is offensive behavior. Or is Teresa Harris just being hypersensitive? Okay? You're down in Tennessee now, and you're at Forklift Systems. And Charles Hardy's good for morale. He likes to keep things light, so what's he like to do? He likes to go up to the female employees and grope them. Does that keep you in a good mood? Because that's what women really like, right? Isn't that it? That's what Governor Cuomo said in New York. Is this kind of outdated? New York? How many, 2 years ago? Governor Cuomo, the chief pervert in New York? You want to hear something really, really funny, really ironic? Governor Andrew Cuomo was sexually harassing all these women for 15 years. It's not new. And he's the guy that put in and signed into law New York's anti-harassment bill. Yeah, he got caught on his own bill. Yeah, you should have vetoed that. Okay, Charles Hardy is groping and groping. Okay, so freeze right there. Let's say you work there. Should we say something to him about this? What do you think? Ooh, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to say anything. We should cover it up. Okay, freeze right here. How many people think, yeah, I'm covering this baby up? I'm just going to lunch. How many people would speak up? Okay, now freeze right there. See the retaliation issues coming into the United States? The EEOC is 50 to 60,000 cases behind right now, as we speak, right now, behind. If one of your people, and how easy is it to file a civil rights charge? Okay, I'm mad at you or my supervisor, and understand how most supervisors got to be supervisors. They got to be supervisors because they were a good technician. You're a great technician. So guess what? How would you like to manage the biggest part of our budget and the people who actually do the work? Well, let's put you in charge of that. See any problem here? Ouch. Okay, yeah. So I'm mad at my supervisor, which we have not trained. I'm in the bathroom. I can file right down the road here in Cincinnati on my phone. Okay? It's going to be 8-9 months before they get back to me. Boy, I tell you right now, if you wanted to land in the hotbed of the law, employment law is the place to be. Right now, this is the busiest area of the law. Nothing else is even close. Nothing. Okay. So, oh, by the way, in Ohio, if you don't say something, you just said it was okay. You just gave it tacit approval because he's a supervisor. Okay, so what do you think? Will it just stop? Ignore it, it'll go away, right? What will it do? What will he do now? It'll get worse. Everybody says that, gets a button, okay, gets a pin. What's he start doing next? He starts exposing himself to all of the female employees, okay? Makes the guys feel kind of left out. You know, what's wrong with me? You know, so, okay. Is it getting worse? Yeah, he starts asking everybody for sex. Nah, just the women for sex. Okay. A lot more is going on. The guy's a major pervert. Freeze right there. This goes on for 2 years. 2 years. If anybody thought employment law was boring, you're wrong. This is juicy stuff. Actually, when I send these cases to clients, it gets caught in the porn filter. Oh yeah, I think you're sending porn. Nah, it's just a case. That's just what these are like, okay? She sues. Takes 2, 3, 4 years, gets up to the United States Supreme Court in 1993, and I am not kidding you. This is Charles Hardy's defense. Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just funning. Come on, Milton Berle drops his pants. Everybody laughs. All right, come on, I'm just kidding. I'm not really asking them for sex. I'm just teasing them, okay? She is hypersensitive. Now, understand what hypersensitive is. Here's all of us. He's saying nobody's offended. Nobody else is offended. And she's out here in the pasture all by herself. So it goes to the United States Supreme Court, and he poses this question to the court. Is the law going to protect hypersensitive people? And the United States Supreme Court comes back and says, no, he's got a point. He's got a good point. Now, put all the dirty stuff away, all the pervy stuff. Are there hypersensitive people who claim harassment? Yes, absolutely. And that was a very insightful observation by the United States Supreme Court. Okay, so they came up with this test. This is the test, and this is the test we've been living under ever since. Now, this is not the test for what is illegal harassment. This is just the first part of that test. This is just determining whether or not you got bullying. Is somebody a bully? Well, according to the United States Supreme Court, you've got to ask yourself, would the reasonable person in the community be offended? Now think, it's not asking what the victim is saying. Of course, the victim's going to say that they're offended, otherwise you wouldn't have an issue. Harassers, bullies, almost always say, oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I put that Ku Klux Klan note on the back of his coat. I was just kidding. How many people think I made that one up? I wish. I wish. Okay. So, now back in 1993, you say, okay, our local community. Where are we standing right now? Where are we? Whoever says where we are gets a pin.
United States.
We're in the United States. There you go. Okay. You win a pin. Oh, there you go. See, wasn't that easy? Yeah, wasn't that easy? So we're in Centerville, Ohio. So we're going to come right back to that because that's right. If we looked at the reasonable community in 1993, it was probably Southwest Ohio, maybe Ohio. Okay, now back to what's the community today? Oh, the entire United States, absolutely, probably the world. If something happens in Ukraine right now, when will you know about it? Oh yeah, seconds. Okay, so I've updated this test. And this is what I want into your culture. This is what I got in the policy. This is what I want you to train your people on. What would most people think if that was on the front page of USA Today? That's actually your test from the United States Supreme Court. Okay, so let's apply this. All right, so the whole country. So you folks, I'm sorry, you're California, okay? Well, for what's left of it, right? I mean, really, good Lord. You're the whole West Coast. Right here, you're the mountain states. Then we got the plain states. You're the eastern seaboard over here. Okay, got the whole country here. How many people think if this was on the front page of USA Today, that Charles Hardy's been doing this stuff for 2 years, how many people think that you'd be offended? Look all across the country. Oh, there you go. So guess what? He's a pervert. He's a pervert. So you go back to him and you say, well, I'm sorry, Charles, you're a pervert. He says, no, I'm not. And you say, oh, yes, you are. We voted. Yeah, that's actually how the world... Now here, well, that's not very scientific. Well, that's why I didn't go to medical school. This is law school. This is the law. The reasonable person runs through all of employment law. Okay, now will there be some people in the country who say, oh yeah, this is just so bizarre, I'm sure he was kidding. He was just kidding. Yeah, you're probably a moral degenerate right along with him, okay? No matter what you say, somebody's going to agree with you. No, that's not our concern. We're concerned with what most people think. Yeah, Will.
I can see the reasonable person test being applied to verbal statements.
Yeah.
But in his case, if he was actually groping them,
Yeah.
that's assault.
Absolutely. That's assault and battery. You got it. That's a criminal act. You betcha.
I don't think would the reasonable person test even apply to that?
Unfortunately, it does, because you got a really good one here. Because let's look at this. He's absolutely right. Okay, if somebody groped you and you filed a police report, if you're in New York City, they'd say, well, you're in New York. I mean, come on. Okay, if you're in Centerville, I think they will take some issue with that. Okay, now, when we talk about the law, and really, put your antennas up here. You win like 3 pins there, Will. This is really good. You've got basketball and football. They're both sports. Is that right? Any basketball fans here? I wish. I'm 5'6". Yeah, never really worked out for me much. How many people love football? Okay, how many Buckeye fans we got here today, right? Yeah, okay. Now, they're both sports. But the civil system of the law doesn't even relate to the criminal system. 2 completely different sports. We think, well, there's the law. No, there's criminal, which you're absolutely right, and there's civil. You see, this is why O.J. won at the criminal trial, but then lost at the civil trial. And most of his money had to go to the families. Okay, so you're absolutely right. It is assault and battery. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to make you give a bunch of money over there. So, excellent point. Other questions? Yes.
So if somebody gropes me at work,
Yeah.
or does assault to me, I'm calling the police immediately.
Good for you.
Hopefully the police come.
Yeah.
They take this person away. I
Probably.
file charges against them.
Yeah.
They hold them in jail.
Yeah.
They lose their job.
Yeah.
So is that not how this is supposed to work when women are groped or men or whoever? I mean, why isn't that?
In the criminal system?
Yeah, I mean, why can't
Well, you were hoping.
talk about that?
Yeah.
But the criminal system, there's too many
Well, at least they're out
criminals,
of the
and so they just let them
employment
go.
area.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're not at their job anymore, and I would hope the person would be like, you're fired.
You would hope.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Okay, that is really good. Okay, now let me just sort of warn you against this. Remember I said, what is the number 1 charge filed with the EEOC? It's retaliation. And I have again and again and again and again and again and again, I run into this all the time. And I want you to think about this. I'll send you a video on this. We're going to protect our own. We're not going to correct our own. That's Jerry Sandusky. Jerry Sandusky was caught raping little boys in 1971. Long time ago. Penn State knew, Joe Paterno knew, they settled the case. That is criminal. He could have gone to jail for that. Keep it quiet. They paid, I'm sure, 7 figures to the little boy's family. Okay, freeze right there. What should have happened with Jerry Sandusky at that point, right there, 1971? What should have happened? Okay, they're not going to send him to jail because we're going to protect our own, but I agree with you. But we should have dealt with that. I'm not going to protect my own, I'm going to correct my own. Because let's say he is my friend. Let's say that he happens to be my friend. He's also a pervert, but he's my friend. I'm going to work with him. He is. First of all, Jerry, you are to never be alone with little boys again. I want you to drop this Second Chance Club, and if you ever do that again, you're fired. We could have prevented everything going forward. What'd they do? They covered it up, and dozens of little boys got molested all the way up to 2011, which is when he finally got caught. Now he got incarcerated, and Penn State ended up paying millions of dollars, and that is why I could never in any lifetime, under any circumstances, root for pedophile state. It was an entire organization who did that. What you say is you win 2 pins for that because that is exactly what should happen, but in the real world, cover it up, that's my friend. Cover it up, that's my friend. No, we don't want to do that because particularly with social media today, it's going to come out and everybody's going to be sent right to hell.
well, that's just like the Catholic Church. It all happened there, too.
Did you see the story that came out this week in the Protestant church? high-ranking minister has been molesting little girls for years, and they just pass him around from place to place. So now the Protestants have the same problem, the Catholic. We're not here for that, are we? We're going to stand up and correct our own, not protect our own. But no, great points here.
Hopefully the next 4 years we'll be able to do that.
We'll see. Yeah.
So in her case, she calls the police
Yeah.
because he was groping.
Yeah.
Where the problem comes in is now that ex-employee is going to sue the employer because they really didn't have a right to terminate, not whether he gets it.
Well, that's it. Now let's look at reality. Look at what's really happening. I fire this guy because I've got him dead to rights and everything. Now he's going to sue us. That's never happened in the history of the court of law. Good, because you might be thinking like that. But if you don't fire him or deal with him, then she's going to sue you and win. And so it's like, okay, where would I rather fight? Well, I'm going to fight Charles Hardy any day. I'm going to go after Charles. Oh, by the way, you know they're out of business, right? Okay, everybody with me? Good discussion. I love this. Ooh, I love to give away pins. Yeah, because that means you're active. You're thinking. I love that. Okay? Now, this test is still alive today. So let's go through and apply this. I want this in when you coach people. You have somebody who's accused of being bullied. You accuse somebody of being a bully. Somebody who is hypersensitive. What's the thing you always ask? Well, I was just kidding or something like this. Okay. How would that look on the front page of USA Today? Well, I think it'd be fine. Then you need therapy. You need a pill. I don't know what's wrong with you because groping women. Here's a real life example. You can't make this stuff up, okay? Sheffield Lake Police Chief Anthony Campo is seen putting a Ku Klux Klan note on the back of a black officer's raincoat. Got him on film. Okay, tell me, what was his first response? What? I'm just kidding. That's exactly what he said. And I'll tell you, you have not been able to argue that since 1993. I'll tell you, I still get lawyers that say, well, he was just kidding. No, I had a case once where a CEO was having sex on the desk with his female employees and then texting and telling everybody about it. Just because you're CEO doesn't mean you're smart. That don't, you got an issue. Huh? Give her a pin. Yeah. So, it's emotional intelligence. You got too big for your britches. That's what's happening in a lot of these cases. And I will tell you right now, the attorney said, oh, he was just kidding. He didn't really. No, you're not allowed to argue that. United States Supreme Court. No, that's got to be stricken. That is not even a consideration. And of course, when you're on the news and when you are on the front page of USA Today and the lead story on CNN, guess what? You can't sweep that under the rug. He had been doing things like this for decades. This was not new. Only when it was in the light. Your intent doesn't matter. Only when everybody knew about it did the officials have to do something. That's sick. Not happening with you, is it? And remember, forget the law. What's happening to your gut going in every day? What's happening? Now, this was a poster that someone put up in one of my clients. What do you think? If that was on the front page of USA Today, that somebody posted this in your lunchroom, would some people say, that's right, they're all evil? Well, some people would say that. What are most people in the country going to say?
Take it down.
Take it down. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. And I asked the guy, I said, if that was on the front page of USA Today, what do you think most people would think? And he said, oh, I think most people would agree. Then you need to go work someplace else. Okay? Because no. And what did he do? He then posted it on Facebook, and we fired him. Oh, by the way, you know that in your training I'll send you, what has to be in your harassment training, or it's not valid? You got to have social media in there. You got to have tolerance in there. You got to have bystander intervention in there. Conflict resolution. If those things aren't in there, you're not in compliance. Now, this is one I ran into recently. I was at a diversity conference, and one of the attendees there was saying, well, white men don't support DEI because they're all guilty anyway. Is that a problem? How many people think, Well, that's kind of a stereotype. Kind of. Yeah. Okay. No, that was on the front. If that was on the front page of USA Today, you're probably going to have to move. Okay, Canada would maybe hide you. I don't know.
Scott,
Oh, yeah.
with as divided as everybody is now, I mean, the USA Today test
Yeah.
makes sense. But if you put that on the front page of the Washington Post or the New York Times, you know, there's, even publications are
Yeah.
one or extreme or the other.
They are, because see, they're feeding to their audience. But I mean, like this one in particular. Okay, fine, let's change it. All black men are in prison because they're all guilty. See, it's one rule. That's honestly, that's why I started Ohio Fair. It's one rule for everybody. If you would say that about someone who's Hispanic, if you would say that about someone who's black, it's wrong. It's also wrong to say it about someone because they're white. And I'm doing Legal Update again. This will be the third time I'm doing it on February 7th. And I will tell you, got a bunch of cases in there where white people are suing because they're being treated differently than black. American Airlines just got nailed by the Office of Federal Contract Compliance because they're giving preferences to blacks in hiring. That's been illegal for decades. Oh, Mark Cuban just got nailed by the EEOC for doing that. It's illegal. Let me tell you right now, you particularly, how many people here in the public sector? Oh, you really do not want this on the front page, that you discriminated against anybody. Which, hey, Will, nice segue. What's the difference between these? Aren't they all bigoted? These are all racists. What is the difference between, or what do you call someone who is a racist and they're only a racist against one group of people? What do you call them? Racists. You win a pin. There you go. Okay. Now, what about hypersensitivity? All right. EPR. If you are ever coaching an employee, if you are ever in a conflict with someone where the stakes are high and people are very emotional, you use your EPR skills. I can't get through a day without it. Empathic listening, parroting, and rewards. Just like CPR, but EPR. So I get this 3 or 4 times a year. Because actually, back to what Will is saying, yeah, there are people out there that are telling young, highly educated African Americans that the word black is offensive. No one should ever use it, and you shoot it down when you hear it. Okay, so I get someone who is African American because they filed a harassment charge because someone in the organization used the word black, or in the publications, the company is printing the word black. Okay, now, boy, who wants to take that one? Is that highly emotional? Yeah, so we're going to make this easy. You go in, sit down. What do we usually do? To solve a conflict, we usually go in and say, look, this is a term that nobody necessarily means this or whatever. Here's why we use it. You're trying to explain to the person to try to help them, right? Okay, that's not very respectful. Did we ask them their side? No. Did we ask them what they think? No. So what do? In a conflict, I bring somebody in, I sit back, I relax, and say, okay, why don't you tell me what's happening? And I shut up. The secret to addressing and resolving conflicts, particularly on highly emotional topics, is shutting up. And you see, now think about it. I'm at the time a 55-year-old white Anglo-Saxon Protestant straight male. Here's a young 24-year-old African-American woman, graduate of Ohio State. Do we see things different? Oh yeah, I'm 30 years older than her. Okay, so guess what? I have to listen from her perspective. Empathy is one of the most important skills you will ever possess. And it's easy if you shut up and listen. And I have to listen because I got to parrot everything back. We don't move on until she understands that I agree. And I always hear something like, well, If you look in the dictionary, black means that, that you are devoid of light, that you're evil. And I'm not devoid of light, I'm not evil. And the company shouldn't be using that term. And no one should use it here. And that's why I filed the charge. Okay, everybody here? All right, so now think about this. I want to make sure that with my 55-year-old ears, male ears, white ears, that I'm hearing things from her perspective and I'm understanding. So I'd repeat it back and say, okay, make sure I got this. You're looking at the actual definition of black, and it means devoid of light, it means evil, and you find this like really offensive. And so we shouldn't use it at all anymore. Now, if she disagrees, what do? Tell me again. I misinterpreted what she said. I didn't say it correctly. Okay, you see how you have to have a common understanding before you move on. And isn't that respectful? But she says, yeah, you got it. I said, okay. Now, rewards. I have to give her a reward. Whenever you disagree with somebody, you give them you thank them. People, what do we usually do? Well, that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. No, no. Does she have a right to her opinion? Yes, she does. And you tell her that. I see a reward. I see where you're coming from. And you know what? I will defend to the death your right. Your right to your beliefs. Now, think about this. If that was on the front page of USA Today, that someone here was using the term black, what would people say? What would most people say? And usually at that, I get, well, I don't care what they say. I find it offensive. I know. And you know what? We're going to make sure that we try not to say that around you. And if someone does, you educate them. We don't attack each other here. We educate each other. And so that's what I want you to do. I want you to educate. But I think this really bothers you, but the world doesn't necessarily see it that way. We're going to respect what you want, but if we had that on the front page of, you kind of see how your training ahead of time has already told people, this is the definition of offensive. Now you can play this card when you're coaching them, okay? Because really that's true. Are there some people who are black who are offended by the term African American? Oh, yeah, I've heard that in no uncertain. You say that to Morgan Freeman, he will attack you. He said, no. Is everybody who is of color African American? Can I look at you and tell? Idris Elba. Till he talks and you hear the British accent, you don't know where he's from. Okay, so not everybody prefers that term. I can't look at you and tell, but I'm going to respect her. But no, I'm not going to change our wording in our pamphlets and everything because that's not our society today. But can I still respect that person? Make sense? Okay, so just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right. And you never tell them they're being hypersensitive. Never, okay? This bothers you and we're going to respect that. Now, let me ask you, most of the times you run into hypersensitive people, was that really so offensive or are we so narcissistic today, in today's world, that nobody can disagree with you? Absolutely. And that's social media. Now, yeah.
The African American life. Why on so many applications and so many things you fill out? Who cares where you are?
Oh, yeah.
Like when I have to check that little blocks.
Yeah.
Why is that still, if this is so offensive and so,
Yeah.
why, now you got X or,
Right.
those things.
Well, now you're talking the federal government, and if you do business with the federal government in certain ways, you have to track that. Now, affirmative action has been killed, but for most organizations, but you still have to track sometimes. So the federal government, if you have a contract with the federal government, they might say, we want you to track this information. And so you still got to fill out your EEO 100 forms so that you can show your tracking and everything. But someone can refuse to fill it out, and you're like, okay.
Okay, well, I was just wondering why it's such a big thing in the workplace on how you identify yourself. Why are we still identifying them within the workplace when they do an application or
Yeah.
open things, why do you still have to check those boxes?
Well, that's been ingrained in us from the 1960s, hasn't it? Yeah. Now you see the whole world is moving the other way, and some people say, I don't fit into any of your little boxes.
I have an X now on mine.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the program has come through with an X.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What's there?
Yeah. So, I'll tell you, we can't change the world, but in your organization, sometimes you do have to identify someone by race or something like this. And so I will call you what you want to be called. Okay? Now, real quick, I just want to show you, and this kind of helps get religion. Forget the law and everything. You don't want to die. You don't want to go crazy. Okay? The number one threat to somebody is if they work in a bad environment and they're being bullied. And 70 to 80% of all Americans feel that way. That explains a lot, because you spend so much time at work. Why does your gut tighten up? Because on top of your kidneys, you've got these two little dunce caps. Those are your adrenal glands. That's what kicks in. And you flood your body with adrenaline and cortisol. Now, a little bit of adrenaline cortisol is good. That's what Kings Island is all about, and roller coasters. But think of it this way. What if we left you on a roller coaster for 12 hours? All that adrenaline, it would kill you. So, just a few little facts here. When you lose your cell phone, that's stressful. Your car won't start, that's stressful. Your gut goes off. But when you are attacked or bullied or in a conflict with another human being, your body knows that that cell phone isn't going to kill you. What are the chances that other person will kill you? Oh, very good. Very good. Humans are 7 times more homicidal than any other mammal on the planet. We do kill each other. And if you don't believe me, turn on the evening news. Okay, so you're going to flood 20% of all of that adrenaline and cortisol, just like gasoline, is going to go to your brain. And your brain feels like soft room temperature butter. So what do? We burn it. This is how our soldiers get PTSD, which is why 4 times as many of them are killing themselves back here in the United States than got killed in war. Now I'm showing you 2 nuclear SPECT scans. Everything in blue is your baseline temperature. Everything in red is burning 15% hotter. Okay, now this is not an MRI. An MRI is structural. Look for tears, bleeds, broken arms, things like that. That's an X-ray. This is very different. We're watching you think. Which parts of your brain are working too hard, which ones are burned, and which ones are not hard enough. Think of this just like a car engine. Just like a car engine. You want your car engine to run cool, but you want it hot in certain places, right? Okay, having just said that, which car engine would you want? The one on the left or the one on the right? Oh, you want the one on the left because the one on the right is burned. It's going to blow up on you. That's my brain in 2008. My wife made me get a brain scan because she said, you're nuts. So I did. I went and got a brain scan in 2008, and big as God. See that diamond pattern in there? That is a very typical pattern of post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay. That's what 30% of everybody you know has. That's what our soldiers have. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, and I looked at my lifestyle. How many people in here, you have to work with jackasses? Yeah. How many people have jackasses in your life and you really don't have to talk to them? You could exercise. Yeah. So I got rid of all the jackasses, okay? And I'm going to send you a link for improving your brain. Did you know your brain will actually repair itself? If you eat right, drink half your weight in ounces in water every day, and I'm going to send you a whole video on this stuff, but you want to work in a good environment where you're not flooding all day long, because that's my brain in 2020. Do you see a difference? It's 85% cured. So all these questions, the legal system, criminal, civil, all these things are great questions, but let's get down to brass tacks. You don't want Alzheimer's. Cortisol and adrenaline gives you Alzheimer's, and it destroys your brain. Okay? It also inflames your entire body, which is what gives you aggravation for diabetes. It also gives you diabetes and all these terrible things. So you know what you want? You want a good workplace. Don't do that. I want to work with good people and release all these really great chemicals like oxytocin, the happiness drug when you work with good people. Dopamine, the motivation drug. Serotonin cures depression. Endorphins, painkillers. And telomerase. Telomerase surrounds your strands of DNA and helps the ends, the telomeres, grow back. You're getting younger. Think of Betty White. You know, who are the people like that live to 100? They're not the bullies. Why? Because they killed themselves years before. Your biological age is not your chronological age. Hey, if you had a heart attack, you'd listen to your doctor, you take the pills, and what would the doctor tell you to do to take care of your heart? What would they tell you?
Less stress.
Less stress, absolutely. What else? Eat right. Exercise. Drink your water. Same thing for your brain. Absolutely. Okay? So I'll tell you, if you smoked for 30 years, would you be surprised if you got lung cancer? Well, if you work in a bullying environment for 20, 30 years, don't be surprised when you get Alzheimer's, because you will. I'm not saying you might. Lots of things cause Alzheimer's, but the one thing we do know for a fact is that this bullying with all this adrenaline and cortisol is going to give you Alzheimer's. So you know what the answer is? Don't do that. Don't do that. Do you think most people know they're destroying their brains every day? Do you want buy-in? Show your people that. We want a good work environment. And your supervisors, they want a good work environment too. So we want to make sure that we're taking care of our brains, because it is too peoply out there. And I'll tell you, we're not going to operate like we do, like the rest of the world does. We're going to operate with our environment, with our culture. And guess what? I want your people to love coming into work on the balls of their feet, and that means dealing with the bullies and dealing with what is offensive and what is hypersensitive. Make sense? That's a lot of stuff. Is everybody's brain full? You're a wonderful group. I could spend the whole day with you folks. This is wonderful.